Hey everyone, thanks for joining Dissection. My name is Adam Blue. Today I want to talk about a fringe subject, and that is UFOs. I have a lot to say about UFOs, but I want to start just with this video showing UFOs in ancient history, because as far as we know, when we think of UFOs, we think of flying saucers and the fact that that stuff started exploding around the 40s and 50s, a little around and after World War II. And the government has always denied any knowledge of UFOs, but it's just strange how recently, whether it's misinformation or not, or disinformation, the government, the Pentagon, is confirming, yes, UFOs exist. We don't know what they are. So, if they're saying they don't know what they are, that could obviously be a lie. We've been lied to. Not necessarily. I think it's hard to say lie. It's kind of like how, parents don't necessarily tell everything to their kids for a reason. They're not ready yet to hear some of the things. I think that's kind of the same with UFOs, right? It could be that it's known what they are, but there's a reason, the knowledge is being kept from us. It could be a whole bunch of things. It could be that it is related to religion, which I am actually going to get to in this video. It could be that it has to do with time travel, which, again, seeing that there is some evidence possibly of UFOs in ancient times, that these could have existed for a long time, or that there's time travelers. It could be humans from the future that are going back in time. And that needs to be another video that I do, and I actually already have the script written for that, and that is, what are UFOs? Are they aliens? Are they humans? Are they humans from the future, or is it just, advancements in technology, modern day? A whole bunch of other things, but let's just look at what we can find here. All right, so this is from extraordinarybeliefs.com. I'm going to put the link in the description. Here is this. This painting is by Flemish artist Ert de Gelder and is entitled The Baptism of Christ. It was painted in 1710 and hangs in the Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge. A disc-shaped object is shining beams of light down on John the Baptist and Jesus. So that could be just simply saying the heavens opened up. God is, sending his beam of light to Jesus to bless him. And that's the thing. A lot of this ancient history, mythology, I should say, or religious stories tend to coincide with UFOs in a lot of different ways. Even in modern times, the UFO phenomenon is usually met with some sort of manipulation of consciousness, of what we're perceiving in our reality. It could be that UFOs looked the way they do to us during the 40s and beyond because whoever is controlling them is also affecting our consciousness to see something that we'd maybe recognize so we don't freak out. It seems that could be the same with Bigfoot as well. Bigfoot really is just an apparition of this interdimensional being, time travel, U.S. military craft, so that we're not seeing, what's actually going on. It's interesting. We see like the Tic Tac video of showing the object and how it's like spinning around. So it makes you think, even captured on radar or on video, is that able to also manipulate what we're seeing or not? Something also like with the Skinwalker Ranch, there's some very interesting things going on there. Some things I am not too sure about. For instance, when they have a lot of tools to measure radio waves and radio frequencies, the electromagnetic spectrum, and a lot of times they're able to detect direct beams of a radio wave. And there's reports of when people have spotted UFOs, that sometimes a beam of light would hit someone directly. And that could be what's being represented here. And I also think, if all of this is true, and we are to take seriously times in the past where people have become prophets or become people that are listened to change others' lives, maybe they have been receiving information that way. For what reason? I don't know. And it's just that I am looking at the patterns that seem to repeat. Here's another one. This painting is called The Madonna with Saint Giovannino. It was painted in the 15th century by Domenico Ghirlandaio, 1449 to 1494, and hangs as part of the Loesser collection in the Palazzo Vecchio. Above Mary's left shoulder is a disc-shaped object. Below is a blow-up of this section, and a man and his dog can clearly be seen looking up at the object. You know, it's very interesting seeing this, because what is that? Like this one up here, we see the beams coming down. This one seems to have some radiation around it, which makes sense for a lot of reasons, actually. If we want to talk about radiation, even the Ark of the Covenant, or, you know, the electromagnetic spectrum beams that I guess are being directed from these potential craft. And again, here's another picture. This painting is by Carlo Crivelli, 1430 to 1495, and is called The Annunciation with Saint Emitius, and hangs in the National Gallery, London. A disc-shaped object is shining a beam of light down onto the crown of Mary's head. So, yeah, this painting... okay, I tried to zoom in there. Don't know if that worked. Yeah, there's this disc-shaped object. It looks like the clouds are separating, so it could be just that, but that could be the interpretation of what's going on, and then this light coming down. Now, how would they know or know more than us? And, you know, during this time period, and I would say that, you know, if these things truly did exist, you know, what we've learned about knowledge, no matter what, and even what I was just talking about earlier, with, you know, the parents keeping knowledge from their kids until a certain time period. You know, people through time have maybe had that knowledge and just not shared it because of that. And so this is just knowledge that's been going on forever. If time travel really is a thing, maybe knowledge was then shared at some time. And, you know, so it's very interesting to consider. Who knows if it's true? I mean, this is another one that's very interesting because we're seeing this painting with Jesus. This is from Metoja, Yugoslavia, Visoki Dekani Monastery, fresco above the sarcophagus of King Stefan, titled Crucifixion, painted in 1350. And look at these; these are very interesting. It's like the UFOs are there's just flying things that people are inside. I'm not saying they're UFOs, but what are they? Do we know? And then here's this painting, Annales Loresensis. That's very interesting. I mean, this dude on a horse is pointing to a saucer-shaped craft with, like, the beams around it. Same with this other picture. So it's very interesting, like, how are they interpreting what's going on around the object? Only because even with everything we have right now, we can't see what's around the object. It's very interesting that even in these paintings, I mean, these could be fake, but I looked it up, and it looks like it's a real painting. I mean, these look like modern UFOs, but these were painted in 776, but I guess it's during a siege of a castle, so I guess during war, some sort of conflict. You know, again, it's very interesting that they look like this. I mean, could it be that if they're time travelers, they can retroactively maybe hide information during our timeline, and is that how we're trying to be communicated with? I don't know. Interesting picture here. This is 1595. What's cool about this is we're seeing potentially Jesus and God in the clouds with this orb with an antenna on it, potentially communicating. You know, again, very interesting, hard to determine. And then the Book of Good Manners. Again, we're seeing some up here. And a point I was trying to get to earlier was, who knows if artists that are commissioned, you know, artists during that time period, to have the materials to really be this good of an artist, potentially that means they're in the upper echelon of society. They might have insight and knowledge into things that are not shared with all, and it could be commissioned because maybe people with the knowledge wanted to have some visual interpretations of what's been seen. This looks pretty cool. I mean, look, it's showing, like, is that Jesus and Mary in the clouds? But then a bunch of these little disc-shaped clouds everywhere. You know, very interesting. Here's something from the Prajnaparamita Sutra. Very interesting. The Sutras of Perfection of Wisdom. And we can see these saucer-shaped looking things above these people here. Again, that could be something else entirely. It's very interesting because it kind of has that flower look. We saw that earlier with, let me go back up to it real quick because, yeah, that was really high up here, wasn't it? Yeah, this, and I guess flower, maybe not the right word, but that and the one we see below looks exactly like the device on the wrist of the Sumerian. And actually, let me pull that up. Anyway, I'm just talking about this right here, this little wristwatch thingy that we see. It could be just a flower someone puts around the wrist. This one, seems like someone broke that off and the nose, maybe to hide something. I don't know. But it's just interesting to kind of see this here. It just calls back to that for whatever reason. Again, can't really draw conclusions from that, but I want to mentally notate these things we're seeing, so later on maybe we can come to some sort of conclusion. What is this? The Vatican Reliquary has this picture where, I mean, I don't think I've seen this before, but it looks like people in suits and then something landing, and very interesting. The orbs around the heads, the halos, we see that depicted a lot in religion. That could be the feeling of that connection with a UFO or something, because when people report sightings, sometimes there seems to be other things reported, with their mind, especially if we're talking about the consciousness is sort of messed with when a UAP appears. And this, Triumph of Summer, it looks like, they're pointing out some UFOs that are up there too. Oh yeah, this is from Japan, I think. Landing of a mysterious object. In the other thing, who knows when it comes to, again, who's piloting it when it crashes. There's a lot of, when UFOs land, talks of people in silver uniforms coming out, walking around. Again, who knows what's being projected to the mind if that's the case. And in this case, it could be, the person projected themselves to seem like someone that wouldn't scare them, so that they would be able to eventually escape and get back to where they need to. I don't know. Life of the Virgin, and up there in the background, who knows? So very interesting. And lastly, another thing I wanted to bring up, I just got the idea when I saw this picture. Where was that at? Actually, I think it was top here. So I find this one interesting because there was a UFO sighting recently, or maybe just the pictures were shared recently, where it showed some odd-shaped craft, and it looked like there was something inside, and it was of a reddish color. The red is very interesting. That could mean nothing here. You see the red hair here, but, there's the stories of the giants with red hair. A lot of red hair seems to be in kind of the ancient lore. Again, is that related in some way? I don't know. If anyone happens to have that picture somewhere of that UFO sighting, please link to it, because I will do an update video where I'll compare the two, because it could have been that by now that video is faked, and that's why it's not up anywhere easily searchable. But yeah, it looks like there was someone inside. So anyway, hope you found that interesting. Really the point of that is to really look at what we have so far when it comes to ancient depictions of UFOs, because really, one or two instances you can say, oh, that's trying to be something else, and it just happens to look like it. But with all the different paintings we're seeing, and to consider the artists that are doing this, most of the time, this work being commissioned, there's some knowledge transfer going on there. And it could be that just people weren't privy to information. Some things are wanting to be represented for a certain purpose to pass that down. I find that very interesting. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any other information you'd like to provide or for me to touch on. But thanks for watching. We'll talk later.